Hi guys, Jared here with Day Traders FX. Hopefully you guys are having a great week and a great day. Just a quick little reminder, if you'd like to check out our trading group, you can go to daytradersfx.com and click right up here in the right hand corner where you can get a 5-day free trial to our trading group. Okay, let's get over to the U.S. markets and see how everything has been going here. Another positive day for the Dow. We're getting back into some pretty high levels. S&P, not hugely positive, but a decent one. And oil keeps on tanking. Everyone's curious about this whole oil dip that's going on here, so that's interesting. As always, I don't hate it. But oil's back down to just over 90, and we saw it all the way up in the high 90s, so something to keep an eye on. As far as news goes today, what we have coming out the rest of today is the GDP, I believe. We can even look at that real quick for New Zealand, and I think that's about all we have. Yeah, so we've got the GDP report for New Zealand coming out in a couple of hours. And then coming into tonight and tomorrow, we have retail sales for the UK, typically a big mover. So keep an eye on that. Some Spanish bond auction details coming up as well. And then we have unemployment claims and the Philly Fed index for the US tomorrow morning. So we'll be trading some of that. So here's a little bit of what I'm looking for. This euro dollar is in a pretty interesting kind of a setup, and I'm not 100% sure what I want to do with it, what I see happening. I think we have some slightly further retracement, and this is something I've been talking about all week, is how much more retracement do we have, how much further of a run do we potentially have. And what we're looking at first of all is this nice, on the 1 hour chart, you can see a very nice double top, a very nice top in place here. And then what started to happen is this little short-term trend line has broken, and we kind of got that little neckline out of the way, and then the trend line's broken, and it's consolidating below the trend line now. So that's something to keep an eye on. As far as this run right here, you can see that it's probably at the top of the channel, and we've got some pretty good retracement to do here. So you know, if you draw a channel from the on the daily details, and we just kind of look and see how the top of that's going. If we put that as the top of the channel, fine. We see a nice turning point. It looks like there's a pretty good amount of room to potentially run down, and that's where I'm thinking we're still at, is we're still turning bearish. We're still looking for some further downside on this euro dollar. I think we've got just a little bit more of a push lower. We did see some nice reversals today, hit these lows and bounce back up, but it's still consistently making lower highs. That's another thing that has me on high alert here. Now remember, the 200-day moving average on the 1 hour chart, pretty important, something good to keep an eye on. But as far as everything else goes, I think I'm still leaning towards a possible sell opportunity. I think I'm liking a little bit more of the opportunity of shorting this and getting some getting some pips on the downside here. If we make it down into about this 12900 area, that's about 12900 on the dot. From this kind of recent run here, just the low of the last month and a half to the high, it's been a pretty steady upward movement. That 23% fib is at 12900. We know that if the market breaks below that, we have a very high probability of making it into about 127 30, 40, 50-ish area. And so that is a very real possibility. That gives us a nice little run of over 150 pips if we get down to that area. Now, getting to that area is also going to be a bit of a question mark. We have about 150 pips to go to get there. So I'm slowly leaning on a little bit of further retracement on this euro dollar, and I like getting long just below about 120, below the 130s. I think is probably ultimately going to be our big long-term position to buy the euro. So down at 127, 128, right in that general area. But I do think that we're going to have some more downside if we do trade against some of these highs. Now I will look at a possible short-term bounce at the 200-day moving average somewhere down here around 126.50 or so, but overall I think we're probably looking at a little bit of further movement down. So that's not a lot of help for the immediate what to do's, but it's something to look for. The one thing that I would say that is probably okay to start looking for right now is this. If we get above about 130.100, really about 130.90. This has turned out to be a pretty tough level. We get above this 130.90, 130.100, then I think this euro is going to take off again, and we're going to have some big upward movement above 130.90, 130.100 area. So that I will say that. So for the near term, and that's not that far away. We're currently sitting at about 130, almost 60. So a few more pips up there, and I think we've got some good possibility for some nice continued upside. Okay, long explanation on the euro, but that's what I'm looking for. Pound dollar as well. Look what this pound dollar has done. Same thing. It's kind of running up. If we do the same kind of channel on this daily chart, we're going to see a very similar picture that we saw on the euro dollar, which is this kind of we can see a pretty nicely established channel there. Also at the top, also looking at a nice triple top right there. Very nice little top in place. 16200 is our level to break. So what I am specifically looking for here is an open below 16200. And from there, I'm looking to trade it down towards this 200-day moving average on the 1-hour chart, which is about 161.30, 40, 50 area. And so I think that's going to be a good little target. We've got a good, 50, 60 pips to work with if we get below 16200. Now, if we don't, if we get another, pin bar like this thing was massive and we had a nice bounce up. If we get another one of those, then watch for those reversals and we can trade, the bounce of 16200 as well. But look on the 1-hour chart for an open below 16200. That's going to be the money maker and the thing to look at. Looking at this euro yen, also it's got some potential to continue a little bit lower, but it still is holding semi-bullish on the daily charts. It's hanging in there, even though it's bouncing off these levels and so on. It's hanging in there. So we're looking at that, and I think that we've still got a little bit of potential downside. If we look at the consolidation here to the run up, you can see that from the low to the high, we've got the 38% fib at about 101.50, 60, and so I think that's a good target to kind of reach for and shoot for, and I think we're probably going to see the euro yen head down into that general area. Back up above 102.50 though, if we get an open on the 1-hour chart above 102.50, be looking for some of these upward movements, and I think we'll see some nice runs back into those highs. So just keep an eye on that. But below 102.50, I think we have a pretty decent chance for that 101. 50, 60, 70 area. So that's what I'm going to be looking for there. Aussie dollar, very similar kind of situation on the Aussie dollar as the euro. I think that actually not really true. I think the Aussie dollar is actually quite a bit more bullish right now in its short-term setup than the euro dollar is. I'm a little less confident on the upward movement on the euro dollar than I am on the Aussie dollar. I think this Aussie is going to continue up nicely. We had a little high and a reversed candle right here, and we've broken above that about 104.75, and we're currently sitting about 10 pips or so above that. I think there's still some upside potential into maybe 10500 on this Aussie dollar. So keep an eye on that little situation and that setup. And just something to kind of compare all of that against is the setup that we have on gold. Gold has double topped very nicely at about 17, just shy of 1778. 1777 right around there is where gold is kind of topping out, and we may start to see some retracement on gold as well. So just keep an eye on all of that stuff, because I think we've got some pretty nice movements in the works to the downside on gold, and of course that should most likely drag euro dollar, pound dollar pairs down with it. So we're going to watch for those levels. But very best of luck, guys. We have some very good setups coming up, and I think we're going to have some nice, long-term runs in the works. We just gotta get there. So wait for these, be patient for them, and I'll have more details coming out on Twitter. Thanks a bunch, everyone, and best of luck.